Hey artist friends, I know several of you have been waiting in anticipation for this video for about 3 months or so now, and here I am today with my official Round Top 2024 fall show, little haul and information for those of you who have never been or are wondering exactly what Round Top is. So first of all, I have so much to say in this short amount of time of this video, so if I don't cover something, please leave me questions below. I don't exactly know what to share and what you want to know, so if I miss an important detail, just drop a question below and I am so happy to answer it. So Round Top is a really small town in between Austin and Houston, Texas. It's about an hour and a half or so drive from me. These photos above that I'm sharing are just fun little vignettes, things that I found inspiring, products or antiques or things that I really liked that maybe I didn't pick up that I wanted to keep for memories. A lot of times I use these for inspiration and just quick snap them because I find antiques and the vignettes and this like the displays and the grungy old layers, just like my artwork, so inspiring. So I don't 100% know all of the history of Round Top. I've lived in Texas for over 20 years and just started going to the antique show. I've been several times, am no way an expert. I've never stayed overnight until this year. I actually spent a couple nights there and it was the funnest little getaway. I'll share more about where I stayed at the end of this video, but normally I just take a day trip over to Round Top. This year, or in the last year in the fall, there was some mix up in dates, so there was an opportunity to stay overnight and I took the opportunity and I'm so glad I did. I actually went to Round Top for one day last year because it's an interesting antique show where there's different like company things. They're like barns and fields and like communities, I guess I would say, that kind of have sometimes different dates, and so sometimes if you want to see some of your favorites you have to go one day and then in a couple weeks you have to go back, which oh no, right? So I went for one day to hit up a couple of my favorites that were only going to be open that day, and then like a week and a half later I went towards the end of the show for 3 days. It's called Round Top Antique Festival, but it's actually in several towns. Round Top is kind of like the center of it all, and then there's a whole bunch of stuff north and a whole bunch of stuff south, and you just kind of follow the road and stop off where you want, and everyone who goes kind of develops their favorites. I've kind of developed my favorites over time, and I actually haven't been to every place, even though I've been there several times, because it's almost impossible unless you're going for the whole 2 to 3 week time to hit everything. So last fall, I found some really cool finds and I'm going to share with you upcoming in the rest of this video. I hope you enjoyed these little snapshots from Round Top. So last fall was the first time I actually went to Marburger Farm. I had never been there before. It's one of 2 venues that you have to pay to get into, and it's actually kind of more furniture based. I didn't buy anything but saw some really cool things. I could have purchased some things, but one thing about Round Top, it's so hard sometimes to be like, oh, should I buy this or should I wait for something else? And that's kind of the conundrum, because if you don't buy it, chances are good it won't be there when you get back, or you won't even be able to find where you originally found it anyway. So I went to Marburger for the first time and really enjoyed just walking around and looking at all the amazing furniture. Another place I really like is called La Bahia. It's a small little venue it's only open for like 3 or 4 days, I think, at one point during the show, and I found this Rolodex there. It's a mini Rolodex. These cards are so tiny. I've never seen one of these in person before. I love the patina on the cards and the typewriting, so I'm looking forward to using a bunch of these cards and probably packaging some for my Etsy store. This is actually the first Rolodex that I've purchased, and as you can see, I could not resist these cute little patinaed cards. It's kind of fun because every time I go to Round Top, I visit some of my favorites and some new places, and then they either become my favorites or I don't like them so much. So this time when I went back for my 3-day trip, I went to a new area that I had never been before, and I'm definitely going back because I found some amazing treasures in that area, including probably my favorite Round Top find ever, this bundle of class photos. I just thought this bundle was so amazing. All these cute little kids all lined up. And then there's actually some staff photos. I hadn't really gone through them at all. I just grabbed them and knew I had to have them. So this is the first time I'm going through them. There are several years represented in these photos. And the little booth actually had another bundle of these. And, well, they weren't bundled. They were individual. And he would have bundled them for me for a little bit more than this bundle. And I'm maybe kicking myself for not getting them. But this was my first stop on my 3-day trip. And I was like, ugh. This is my first stop. Do I really want to spend, that much there? There might be other great stuff along the way. I have one bundle. Let's save them for somebody else. So if no one bought them, they're still there. But aren't these amazing? These black and white class photos. I don't do a whole lot of scanning for PDF printables in my Etsy store, but I might have to do some for these. You also saw that bag in the beginning. I was laughing at it because I didn't realize what it was until I looked at it, but it was actually from the Quad Cities in Iowa, which is where I didn't grow up in the Quad Cities, but I grew up in Iowa, so it was kind of fun to see. You probably noticed several of my photos at the beginning were things relating to Iowa that I thought were funny to see at the antique show. Then in that same area, I picked up these. If you've never heard of a Ready Reckoner before, it's something to keep an eye out for. It is a book with pages full of numbers. I actually watched for these on eBay. They're not like super great prices, but if you're looking for a book of numbers, look for a Ready Reckoner. If you see it in the wild, grab it. You know what it is now. And then I had a couple of these little receipt books that I grabbed. I'm going to be making some ephemera kits in my Etsy store, and those will be in them. One of my favorite stops is the Campbell Building. It is in Warrington. It's actually not in Round Top. It's the little town south of Round Top, and I found this neat book. Haven't decided if I'm going to keep it, break it apart for ephemera packs, or sell the whole book yet. Sometimes I let stuff kind of stew in my studio for a while before I decide what to do with them, but I could not pass this up. The graphics, the paper's a little thicker, so I think it's going to be really fun to create with. If you ever go to the antique show, make sure you stop at the Campbell Building because they have one little area of the building that is all books, and it's a lot of fun to look at. When I went the second time for that 3-day trip, it was so hot on one of the days, and I went to the fields in the late afternoon, and the fields are a whole bunch of tables and tents, porta potties, no AC in any of the buildings, and it's just hot under the Texas sun. But I was there towards the end of Antique Week, and so people were really trying to clear stuff out, and the lady had those piano rolls for $1 each, and I couldn't pass that up, and now I'm thinking I maybe should have bought the whole bundle. I do have piano rolls in my Etsy store. They aren't from this little 3 bundle. They're actually whole ones with the boxes and everything, in case you're wondering. I also found this really neat container. This tent in the fields had a lot of repurposed or reimagined items, and I think the couple who owned it probably put that little knob on the top of this, and that little glass knob drew me in. I don't know what I'm going to do with this container. I was thinking about storing my iCads in it or other little artworks, and then they also had this bundled group of cards, which I thought were kind of funny, so I grabbed those as well from them. Another stop in the fields, I found this bingo set. It was a really great price, and I love the green color on these cards. It's kind of a color that I use in my artwork, so I grabbed those. I won't use the markers at the box. They'll maybe make it into my Etsy shop. I don't know, but I really wanted those green cards. In another tent, I found this Moody number game. I've never heard of it before. I've never seen it before. I don't know anything about it. I'm actually going to start looking it up, maybe adding it to my eBay search, because these cards have such great patina and they're so fun. They're not like they have flashcards, but they also have the answers. And so I grabbed these 2 little envelopes. That's all she had left. She had a basket that probably had a bunch more, but I grabbed these 2 to use in my artwork. I think they're going to make great tip-ins or great little things to use in collage. I found these 2 little lesson handwriting books at another venue. I really love handwriting, as you know, and these little Kid lessons are so much fun. They have the same like sentences all over again, so they're fun to cut up to use as sayings in your ephemera or in your on top of photos and stuff, because they say some of the funniest little things. I don't know that I'll be keeping both of them, so watch my Etsy shop in case I let one of them go. I'm not sure, but so far they're sitting on my table waiting for me to potentially use them in art. And then I went to another field area, which quickly became my favorite because the people there were so nice. And I ran into this lady who had some really cool things. She found out I was an artist and shared with me how she priced her items with really cool tags. And we had the funnest conversation. And then I found this book there, which her husband laughed at her for purchasing and wondered who in the heck would want a book like that. And of course I would. It was full of numbers. I asked her if she had any other unique paper items, and she showed me this ledger, so I grabbed that as well. In that same field, I ran across another booth that was fun. Again, the people who ran the booth were so much fun to talk to. I really enjoyed that field, and I know I will go back again. It's one field that I really hadn't visited before because you had to pay $5 for parking, and I wasn't about doing that. I'd rather spend my $5 on ephemera, but I stopped there because it was really shady, and they're not shady bad, shady tree-wise. It was a hot day, so it looked like it was a fun field to stop at, and I will definitely be going back to that one. I found these cute little green, they're like recipe card holders or something. I actually got 5 of them. One of them went to somebody else already. And then I got these little cards. I don't normally purchase playing cards. I already have a whole bunch, but I use them a lot in little giveaways in my Etsy store, and I loved the graphics on those. And then they also had like half off a bunch of their books and different things because it was towards the end of the show and nobody wants to pack up all of that stuff. So this dictionary, I don't remember. It was a really, really great price. I couldn't resist. And these other books that I'm about to show you were the same thing. Had I done this video 2 months ago, I would have remembered the great prices I got on them. But I always love picking up these books for kids, the reader books, when I find good prices on them because they make great ephemera, and I often have them in my Etsy store if you're looking for them. And then they also had this daily calendar, which isn't really filled out, but I love the blue color on the pages. Another tent in that same field had some of the greatest items, things I wasn't looking for furniture and wise, but she had this. It was only $1. And then she found out I was an artist and was showing me a few other items that she had. I had so much fun talking to people on this trip, especially in this field that I was in. People really enjoy hearing what you do with their items and what you're looking for, and they want to help you. So if you ever go to something similar, or you go to Round Top and you find some great vendors, talk to them, let them know what you're looking for. I'm looking forward to going back to that field again, especially to talk to the lady that I bought that numbers book from, because we had the greatest conversation. So Round Top has some like fancy venues, which is like Marburger Farms, this one that I got these ledgers at, a few other places that have really like high-end antiques and furniture, but don't not stop at those because they also have cool things like these ledgers mixed in. So I couldn't find a price on these ledgers to begin with, but they were so amazing. So I asked one of the people working there how much they were. She's like, oh, I don't know, let me go talk to the owner. And so she went and talked to them, and it was like, again, the end of the show, and they're trying to get rid of stuff. So I won't tell you what they gave me a price on, but I did find the original price on the inside. They were listed for $95. I did not pay that much. However, $95 is a really good price if you run across these, but they gave me a great deal for all 3. They are 500 pages, all penciled in, completely filled out ledgers with amazing patina. So that's my little haul from Round Top. I have one more item that I'm going to show you after I finish flipping through these ledgers, but I thought I'd take this opportunity to talk just a little bit more. Again, Round Top happens, I don't think I told you at the beginning, 3 times a year. Today, actually, January 23rd is the first day of the mini winter show. It's the 23rd through, I think, the 26th. I went to the winter show last year. I probably won't make it this year. The winter show is a great kind of baby step into Round Top. There isn't a lot of traffic. Not everyone's set up, so it's not super overwhelming. Parking is super easy. And it's a great time to go. It's going to be really cold this year, which is one reason I'm probably not going. And then there's also a spring and a fall show. I have a little graphic at the end with some of the dates. But again, dates can change. Some venues aren't open all of those dates. So closer to the show time, there'll be an actual guide that will tell you exactly which venues are open at which dates. So this is the last item I grabbed. I purchased it at a French store. The gentleman who worked at the store was definitely French. He had the most wonderful accent. I told him I was going to use this for a watercolor palette, and he was so excited that I was going to do that. He had people that used them for mushrooms and different things, but never for watercolors, and that really impressed him. And now I want to share with you where I stayed. I stayed at the dream location. I have always wanted to stay at the vintage Round Top, and because of the date mix-ups in the fall, there was actually availability. I almost pinched myself when I saw the availability. I spent 2 nights here. If you're familiar with Jean Oliver, this is her friend Paige. She's done a podcast with her on one of her episodes, one of Jean's episodes, and it is the most gorgeous little place to stay, and I almost pinched myself that I was able to stay there. There are tons of places to stay, Airbnb, a few hotels, and some towns around, but again, if you have any questions about Round Top or traveling there or any of my finds, drop them below. I'll be glad to ask them. Thanks so much for watching.